Old age is not a season of retreat, it is a season of refinement. There comes a time when the energy once used to build careers, raise families, and solve endless problems must be redirected inward. Focusing on yourself in later years is not selfishness. It is wisdom. After decades of giving, advising, sacrificing, and adjusting, the body and mind require protection. Emotional boundaries become essential. Not every family disagreement requires your intervention. Not every opinion deserves correction. When you consciously reduce involvement in unnecessary matters, you preserve strength for what truly matters: your health, your clarity, and your inner stability. The world will continue moving at its restless pace, but you are no longer obligated to chase it. By narrowing your priorities to personal well-being, structured routines, meaningful reflection, and calm observation, you create a life that feels lighter rather than burdened. This focus allows you to enjoy simple routines such as reading, walking, prayer, journaling, or quiet conversation without the constant interruption of drama. It is in this disciplined narrowing of attention that dignity grows. Instead of proving relevance through constant participation, you demonstrate wisdom through restraint. Old age rewards those who understand that peace is more valuable than being right. When your focus shifts from managing others to managing yourself, you begin to experience a steadiness that cannot be shaken easily. That steadiness becomes your quiet strength, your silent authority, and your greatest protection in a noisy world. Silence in old age is a deliberate choice, not a sign of weakness or withdrawal. After years of speaking up, defending positions, correcting mistakes, and guiding others, there comes a stage when measured quietness becomes more powerful than constant expression. Every reaction consumes energy, and in later years, energy must be protected with intention. When you choose silence during unnecessary debates, you avoid emotional exhaustion. When you refuse to respond to every careless comment, you preserve dignity. Silence allows observation. It creates space to understand patterns in people's behavior without becoming entangled in them. Many conflicts lose strength when they are not fueled by reaction. By remaining calm and composed, you often influence situations more effectively than through argument. Silence also strengthens authority. People tend to value the words of someone who speaks thoughtfully and sparingly. In contrast, constant explanation weakens impact. Old age provides perspective that younger generations may not yet possess, but wisdom does not need to be loud to be respected. Sometimes offering advice once is enough. Repeating it only drains peace. When you step back from repeated correction, you communicate trust in others to learn from their own experiences. This restraint reduces tension within families and communities. Silence does not mean isolation or indifference. It means selecting the right moments to speak and the right moments to remain quiet. It is emotional discipline shaped by experience. By limiting unnecessary conversation, you also reduce misunderstandings and regret. Words spoken in frustration can damage relationships built over decades. A quiet response, or no response at all, often prevents long-lasting harm. In this stage of life, peace becomes more valuable than victory in arguments. Choosing silence protects your mental clarity, stabilizes your emotions, and allows you to move through your later years with calm strength. Letting go of expectations in old age is an act of emotional maturity that protects the heart from unnecessary disappointment. Throughout life, expectations often serve as motivation. They guide parenting decisions, career ambitions, and social responsibilities. However, in later years, rigid expectations can become a source of quiet suffering. Children grow into independent adults with their own priorities. Traditions evolve, social values shift. If you hold tightly to the belief that others must think, act, or respond exactly as you wish, frustration slowly replaces peace. True wisdom understands that control over others has always been limited. The difference in old age is that the cost of emotional stress becomes heavier. By softening expectations, you release pressure from yourself and from those around you. This does not mean lowering standards of respect. It means accepting that people learn through their own journeys. When advice is offered and not followed, repeating it rarely changes the outcome. Instead, it drains emotional energy. Let your words be few but sincere. Allow space for others to make decisions, even imperfect ones. Acceptance reduces tension within families and prevents recurring arguments that have no resolution. When expectations decrease, gratitude increases. Small gestures of kindness feel meaningful. Simple moments of connection feel sufficient. You begin to measure relationships by presence rather than performance. This shift brings emotional balance. It transforms resentment into understanding and impatience into calm observation. Old age becomes lighter when you stop demanding outcomes and start appreciating reality as it is. The heart remains stable because it no longer depends on constant validation or compliance from others. By letting go, you gain something greater than control. You gain peace. Prioritizing health in old age is not merely a practical decision. It is a disciplined commitment to preserving independence and dignity. In earlier years, the body often tolerates neglect. Long work hours, emotional stress, irregular meals, and lack of rest may go unnoticed for a time. However, later in life, the body demands attention with greater urgency. Ignoring medical checkups, dismissing minor symptoms, or maintaining exhausting routines can quickly weaken overall stability. Protecting your health now requires intentional structure. Balanced meals, consistent sleep, light physical activity, and regular medical consultation are not luxuries. They are necessities. Choosing rest over social pressure is wisdom, not weakness. There may be invitations, obligations, or expectations that once felt manageable but now feel draining. Learning to decline politely preserves strength. Energy must be invested carefully because recovery takes longer than it once did. Emotional health is equally important. Reducing exposure to conflict, limiting stressful conversations, and maintaining a calm daily rhythm protect both heart and mind. Mental stimulation through reading, reflection, learning, or meaningful discussion keeps the mind alert and engaged. Pride should never prevent you from adapting routines to match current ability. Using support when needed demonstrates intelligence, not dependency. By focusing on physical and emotional well-being, you extend your capacity to live independently and confidently. Health becomes the foundation upon which every other aspect of life rests. Without it, even strong relationships and financial security lose stability. When you protect your health with discipline and consistency, you send a clear message to yourself and to others. Your life remains valuable, your time remains meaningful, and your later years deserve strength rather than exhaustion. Emotional detachment from constant family conflict becomes essential in old age because repeated involvement in the same patterns only drains strength. Over the years, you may have been the mediator, the advisor, the financial supporter, or the steady voice during disagreements. That role required patience and courage. However, later in life, continuing to carry every emotional burden can quietly damage your peace. Not every argument needs resolution through you. Not every misunderstanding requires your explanation. When family members repeat behaviors despite guidance, it becomes clear that experience is a stronger teacher than advice. Offering your perspective once, calmly, and respectfully is enough. After that, stepping back protects your mental clarity. Detachment does not mean indifference or lack of love. It means understanding limits. You can care deeply without absorbing every emotional wave. Observing rather than absorbing keeps your heart stable. Stress in old age affects sleep, blood pressure, and overall well-being more intensely than before. Preserving calm is therefore not optional, it is necessary. When you reduce participation in ongoing disputes, you also teach others accountability. They learn to solve problems directly, instead of relying on you as a constant bridge. This shift encourages maturity within the family structure. Silence at the right moment prevents escalation. A composed presence carries more influence than repeated intervention. By stepping out of cycles of drama, You create a home environment that feels lighter and more respectful. Emotional energy once spent on conflict can be redirected toward personal growth, meaningful hobbies, spiritual reflection, and strengthening your own resilience. In this stage of life, your responsibility is not to manage every relationship, but to maintain your own balance. Detachment, when practiced with wisdom and compassion, becomes a shield that preserves dignity, protects health, and allows you to experience later years with steady confidence rather than constant tension. Financial caution in old age is a form of self-respect that protects independence and reduces anxiety. In earlier stages of life, income may have been directed toward raising children, supporting relatives, investing in property, or maintaining social status. Generosity likely defined many of your decisions. However, later years require a shift from expansion to preservation. Resources that remain must be managed carefully because opportunities to rebuild wealth become limited. Thoughtful budgeting, controlled spending, and avoiding unnecessary financial risk provide stability. Emotional pressure from others can sometimes lead elders to make commitments that strain their security. Helping family is honorable, but assistance should never compromise your own well-being. When you prioritize personal stability first, any support you offer becomes sustainable rather than burdensome. Simplicity reduces stress. Fewer financial obligations mean fewer sleepless nights. Avoiding debt, unnecessary guarantees, or impulsive investments protects peace of mind. Clear records, organized documents, and transparent planning prevent confusion and conflict later. Financial discipline also preserves dignity. Dependence created by avoidable decisions can weaken confidence and create tension within relationships. By living within your means and planning modestly for healthcare, daily expenses, and unforeseen needs, you maintain control over your lifestyle. This control strengthens emotional security. Old age is not the time to compete materially with others or to prove generosity through sacrifice. It is the time to ensure comfort, stability, and preparedness. Wise financial management allows you to focus on meaningful experiences rather than constant worry. When money is handled with restraint and foresight, it becomes a quiet foundation supporting calm living. Protecting your resources ultimately protects your freedom, your choices, and your ability to live later years with steadiness rather than uncertainty. Guarding your speech in old age is a refined discipline that preserves respect and strengthens relationships. Over the years, you have gathered experience, insight, and stories that carry weight. Yet wisdom is not measured by how much you say, but by when and how you say it. Words spoken in frustration can damage bonds that took decades to build. A sharp response to a careless remark may bring temporary satisfaction, but it can create long-lasting distance. In this stage of life, calm expression holds greater power than emotional reaction. Before responding, pause. Ask whether your words will solve the issue or simply release irritation. Not every mistake requires correction. Not every opinion requires debate. Younger generations often learn more from observing composed behavior than from hearing repeated instruction. When you speak thoughtfully and sparingly, people listen more carefully. Silence, combined with measured words, increases credibility. Guarding speech also protects your peace. Arguments consume mental energy and disturb emotional balance. By choosing restraint, you avoid unnecessary tension and preserve inner stability. This does not mean suppressing important truths. It means expressing them once, clearly and respectfully, without continuing the cycle of repetition. After that, allow others to decide how they will respond. Controlling tone is as important as controlling content. Gentle firmness commands more respect than loud insistence. Over time, disciplined communication shapes the atmosphere around you. Conversations become calmer, interactions feel safer, your presence becomes associated with steadiness rather than conflict. In old age, dignity is reinforced through self-control. By guarding your speech carefully, you maintain authority without aggression and influence without pressure. Words then become tools of clarity rather than weapons of frustration, supporting a life marked by calm strength and enduring respect. Cultivating inner fulfillment in old age becomes the central foundation for lasting peace and stability. After years of external achievement, responsibility, and constant interaction, the later stage of life invites a quieter, deeper focus. Fulfillment no longer depends on recognition, competition, or approval. It grows from meaningful routines, reflection, gratitude, and personal growth. When you intentionally create space for reading, thoughtful conversation, prayer, journaling, gardening, or gentle walks, you nourish your inner world. These simple practices strengthen emotional balance and sharpen awareness. Instead of replaying past regrets or worrying about matters beyond control, you learn to appreciate present moments. Perspective gained over decades allows you to see life with greater clarity. Mistakes become lessons rather than burdens. Successes become memories rather than measures of worth. Inner fulfillment also protects against loneliness. When your mind is engaged and your spirit steady, solitude feels restorative rather than empty. It becomes time for evaluation, gratitude, and quiet joy. Building this inner strength reduces dependence on constant validation from others. You begin to measure contentment by peace of mind rather than by external praise. Old age offers the rare opportunity to simplify desires and deepen understanding. By focusing inward, you strengthen resilience against disappointment and change. External circumstances may shift, relationships may evolve, and physical abilities may adjust, but a well-cultivated inner life remains stable. This stability influences those around you. Calm presence inspires respect. Measured reactions demonstrate wisdom. When fulfillment grows from within, it cannot easily be disturbed by external noise. In this season of life, your greatest accomplishment is not expansion, but alignment. Aligning your daily habits, thoughts, and priorities with peace ensures that later years are not defined by regret or restlessness, but by steady contentment and quiet strength that reflects a life fully experienced and thoughtfully understood. Old age often brings a quiet realization that the constant need to correct everyone can slowly drain your peace. For many years, you may have been the person who guided decisions, offered advice, and tried to steer others away from mistakes. That role carried responsibility and respect, but it also required constant engagement with the choices of others. As time passes, wisdom begins to show that not every situation requires your correction. People grow through their own experiences, not only through the instructions they receive. When you attempt to fix every misstep, you may unintentionally create frustration for yourself and resistance from others. Instead, offer your guidance calmly when it is asked for, then allow life to do the rest of the teaching. This approach protects your emotional energy while still honoring your experience. Silence after sincere advice is not indifference. It is confidence that others must walk their own path. Observing quietly often reveals that many problems resolve themselves without your intervention. By stepping back from the constant urge to correct, you create a calmer environment where relationships feel less pressured and more respectful. Your wisdom remains valuable, but it is delivered with restraint rather than insistence. In this stage of life, the greatest influence sometimes comes not from repeated instruction, but from steady example. When others see your patience and composure, they often begin to reflect on their own behavior. This quiet influence can guide people more effectively than continuous correction. Learning to release the role of constant instructor also allows you to rediscover personal freedom. Throughout earlier years, much of your time may have been devoted to shaping the direction of others' lives. You helped children grow, supported relatives, and advised friends who depended on your judgment. While these contributions were meaningful, they also created habits of responsibility that can continue long after they are necessary. Old age invites a different rhythm. Instead of managing every situation, you can focus on observing life with patience and curiosity. Conversations become lighter when they are not centered on correction. Relationships feel more relaxed when people sense that they are trusted to think for themselves. This shift does not reduce your importance. It transforms it. You become a presence of stability rather than a source of constant direction. Your words carry more weight precisely because they are used sparingly. At the same time, your own mind gains space for reflection, gratitude, and calm thinking. Time once spent worrying about the choices of others can now be invested in personal interests, quiet learning, and meaningful routines. In this way, releasing the urge to correct everyone becomes an act of wisdom that benefits both you and those around you. It allows your later years to be guided not by tension or responsibility, but by clarity.